I say he's bigger than City Hall.
All right. Okay,
We need to push got it, I think.
It's recording on my end, so we're good to go.
okay,
I've got it, so.
Okay.
okay, call to order. Approval of the November minutes,
So moved.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Visitors' comments? No visitors, good? Not good, okay, move on.
Mr. Chair, just briefly, I know next month we'll continue budget conversation. I do expect one of the runs to be in for a just an update on their special activity permit. It's the the Cinco de Mayo run and such. So they've submitted their permit. I would expect them next month just to be here to get the nod from you all. So
And is that gonna be the same as it always has been?
as far as what I'm seeing on the permit, yes, I have to have a couple follow-up conversations to make sure what they submitted is what they intended. So
Do we have to have them here again? I mean, I hate to say, I mean, why waste their time and our time if it's the exact same thing? We're gonna just say, he's gonna come in and give a 2-minute spiel. We're gonna say, okay, yeah, everything's great.
we don't. I wanted to make sure to avail of the opportunity, but if you're all fine, I can just move past that piece. So
Okay, does anybody have a objection to Cinco de Mayo? It usually run on the first Sunday in May. It's done early in the morning. I think they've always had it for the last, I don't even know how many years, done a great job, never had an issue one.
Who organizes this? What is this group?
Is it Big River Running who does it?
yes, so it is, and it's comes in and ends up on the Lockwood, the off Lockwood on the parking ramp and such like that. So they're down around the whole area, use Old Webster as the start and end. So
They come back down, they go out.
Okay, oh, so it's a run.
Right, exactly, yeah, and they end early in the morning, and
They
nobody's,
started like 8.
yeah, exactly, and then just, yeah, a little gathering down on top of the parking garage, which nobody's there open or anything, and it's usually, I think it used to benefit the Lymphoma Society, I'm not sure what they do now, but, so, anyway. So
If it hasn't changed,
yeah, as long as it hasn't changed, Eric, we're all,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, is everybody else okay with that? Okay, and there's no reason to waste their time to drive here for 3 minutes.
if they have any changes, we'll put them on, but otherwise.
Sounds
we'll-
great. Okay, perfect. Okay, rooftop lighting update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we do have three electricians, Summit, thank you, Bill, for that. Stribe, and then the folks who did Old Orchard are providing quotes for the building that Mr. Smith's in. I can never remember the name of that building, but and then Red Lemoore as well. So those quotes we expect back. I think, pertinent to your budget conversation will be how much do you want to put into rooftop lighting, not only from this current budget. We certainly do have some capacity, but in the future years, as we talk about budget coming up here. And then also, I know Bill reached out to me, a question about street lighting. Public Works is gathering quotes to put power on the street poles and such. We do expect what Public Works is expecting is that is going to be a potentially large expenditure. So it may end up not being an Old Webster cost, but on the capital program of the city. Old Orchard does have some power on the new poles that got added on their streetscape farther out towards Dale on Big Bend. So the city has broken open that world and gotten into putting power in the poles. And certainly, like when Crossroads has their streetscape coming up, our plan would be to continue down the road of continuing with power. But in the interim, getting power on the poles you currently have, Public Works is gathering those quotes. Again, we expect it could be quite expensive, and so that may be a conversation with the city of not being a district expense, but rather how do we roll that into the capital plan of the city?
Okay,
On the rooftop lighting, so they've been out to the buildings, they've measured them. What were the dates? I mean, like, why don't we have the bids yet?
So we Summit Electric, I believe, has been out and gone to them. Stribe sort of re-engaged with us. So we should have them. The ultimate reality on the bids, I don't know why, and it hasn't been the highest on my list over the last couple of weeks. So certainly as we've gotten back in after the holiday season, paid more attention to it. So part of that's on me. And then also, I don't know at what schedule the estimators have been working on from the electricians.
So I'm.
We should have them by next month. That's more, I'm sorry.
So by the next meeting, we should
Yes.
have some
We should,
estimates.
we'll have the quotes, yes. So to see
Okay,
what you want to do in this budget, and if there is, the conversation for your budget, if you want to add further funding in next year's budget
great.
for
Thank
those.
you.
Okay, decorative parking sign update.
Mr. Chairman, I looked through the minutes, and so Public Works is looking at the plans, and we believe that we can easily add a vinyl over the top of the current in the frame that we talked about, the round 2-hour parking sign. Was I supposed to call that group of graphic design folks together, or I know we sort of created a little group, or is that, were they calling themselves together? Wasn't clear to me from last meeting who was supposed to take the lead on that. To
Good
sort of
question.
redesign the round piece.
Right.
I don't recall a specific person being identified.
I don't either. I believe that Joe said he knew where the original artwork was possibly.
And Laura,
I don't know if that,
from Hardcore offered also, because she's a graphic artist.
oh, that's right. Yeah, she did. That's correct. She offered to help with that. So.
But I don't think we identified one of you all or Eric to run with it.
I would, yeah, I don't recall anybody being appointed.
Otherwise, I would have put it in the notes.
Okay, yeah, so, I guess, again, that was still a $5,000, how much was that? Or $10,000? What they estimated
To do the
Oh.
new sign.
for the new signs to match what our old ones were, or to come
The
up with a
fancy
new.
ones.
I don't think we had a complete estimation just to do the vinyl insert like we talked about, just sort of
Okay.
going over the old one. So,
Okay,
so that, I think it will deal with how much, the design cost is, and then the printing of that. And I don't know. I'm happy to work on that. I just did not want to
Okay.
get ahead. Somebody was doing that already. So.
okay. I don't think anybody
8
is.
to 9,000.
Page 9,000. I don't think anybody is actually, nobody took up that role. So, if you don't mind looking into it, that'd be great. I don't know, did we want to
You
come
know,
up with a new design?
This is something that I think I could help out with it. I know Wearmire Creative was the ones that did the design. And then Grafika, I think, did the signs.
Okay, I
So-
know that, and so what we're looking at, Bill, is we're looking at we're using the existing signs, I believe is what we're talking about, and putting a vinyl overlay over top of those signs that would somehow come to everybody's agreement on what it looks like.
Well, I can reach out to Gretchen though and see if she still has the design, because I don't know if it's her, I don't know if she still has it. Those are about 20 years old at least.
Joe, I'm sorry to bring you into this, but didn't you say that you maybe knew where the artwork
I
was?
believe I still have the art on a SideQuest disc.
Oh, my God.
Oh, what?
That's a, one of your.
I'm just kidding.
Joe, is that something possible that you could bring by my office or send to me? I'll be glad to kind of take a little bit of a run at this.
I will look for the disc and see if I can find it.
Okay,
Finding somebody who can actually read that disc may be the biggest issue. The disc has been out of use for at least 15 years.
well, if you can find it, well, then we'll try to do that. Maybe something like one of those photography places along Manchester can help out.
That's a good point.
Well, let's find that first. If we can't, I'll reach out to Gretchen to see what her ideas are on that. She may still have it. And then maybe Grafika. I don't really know the people down at Grafika very well. Anybody?
It wasn't Grafika, it was in graphics.
In graphics. Okay.
Oh.
In graphics over in Brentwood.
Okay. Well, do you know the people over there, Joe, or?
Not since we had those signs done.
Okay. Well, we'll work on that between now and the next meeting.
Wasn't there talk about a lot of the signs being damaged? Also? No, none of the signs are damaged?
Oh,
There was
it could be, but we didn't
changing
talk about it
so they
in
meet
November.
code. I don't think they.
Yeah, but some of
meet-
them are damaged, like they've been.
Yeah, some of
hit.
them,
Oh.
are, and the graphics peeling off, some of them.
No, you mean the band being bent? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
like the way that they're wrapped around the poles, some of them have been hit by trucks and have been bent in.
Not sure. I think there's also doesn't meet code on the signs. They don't meet traffic signage code and because they need to. Is that right, Eric?
Yes, they don't meet code, but that's, I mean, the city, we've lived for 20 years without them meeting code, so we're fine if you want to continue down the round ones. There are some that are missing, that have fallen off over the years or, been hit and such, and so we'll, Public Works is looking at those, and as if we're gonna put a vinyl over it or replace the sign insert, we would sort of try to catalog them and rearrange them to make sure that the main drags get all the good looking ones, and then figure out what we need to do with replacements, or if we can press them back into shape or such like that, so.
Okay, any other comments about the signs? All right, Parks Department Services inventory. I don't know what this means. You're frozen. You look really weird right now. It's like, oh.
I don't think he knows either. It's cold up in Wisconsin.
Oh, that was,
Yeah.
that was so great.
Well, why don't you?
I should take a picture of it and send it to him. There you go.
So you want to, let's take it until he comes back.
Okay, yeah, we can go,
Are we allowed to do that? I thought he had to be present for the meeting, no.
I don't think he has.
table,
Oh,
but I mean, I
okay.
hate to say it, we don't.
He's gonna log back in. What was the item again?
It was Parks Department Services inventory. I would guess it's what all
One
this
of-
is, which I don't really, I mean, I was trying to grasp it a little bit. I was hoping that Dave
Which
Smith would
parks?
know what this is.
You guys, you should have,
You-
there are 5 handouts. So make sure you have 5.
Oh, these are stacks relevant.
Yeah.
If a resident
Got it.
accountant, we can maybe give 30 seconds.
I tried printing them, but they were so small.
Thank you.
That's right. I didn't put them either, because I don't have the bigger paper.
Here's one for him.
Here's the Parks and Recreation report. This one. Here's the
And here's
Parks and
one for Kenny.
Recreation.
I apologize, Ron, have you all?
Okay.
Everything's been solved.
I wish you
Good.
saw you froze again. That's a better picture, though. At least you're smiling now.
Here's slightly one.
Yeah.
Should we skip this until he comes back?
Yeah, I would.
There wasn't anything.
I would guess.
that.
You
I'm just
understand?
getting one from me.
So,
I want to make sure you all have them.
This is what, this is the,
We'll do it one more time, so.
there you go.
I hope I'm gonna shut my video off trying to hold the bandwidth. Sorry for internet in rural Wisconsin here.
There you go. Okay.
So the Parks Department service request, you asked about, this is the issue of the transfer. So the items that the Parks Department provides to the business districts and all business districts.
And-
They are
and
all. Go ahead.
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but can you tell me which page of the handouts we're looking at? Are we looking at the budget worksheet report?
It should be a budget worksheet report. Yes, I'm gonna pull it up here.
And it says Parks and Recreation.
Yep, it'll say Parks and Recreation, then program
Districts.
38, yes. So
Right,
budget.
got it. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So what this is the, we call this the line item within the line item in this document.
Okay,
It shows the line item, and I'll just give you a sense in our budget, like 601 salaries, right? And then the department enters for us, when we create budgets, those line items, those transactions that create the whole line item. So as you look at this document, it gives you everything that was entered into Program 38, which is the business district piece of Parks and Recreation that the transfer between the three districts pays for. So included in that, I'll walk through and happy to answer questions. Obviously, the 600s, the account codes that are 600s are personnel services. There is a full-time person and then the part-time staff that are added that between across the year, the numbers, the people that work in the business districts goes up and down depending on the events. These hours are then tracked through timesheets to make sure that we're compliant and meeting the number of hours that are budgeted for the business districts. And then obviously the corresponding benefit pieces of the package for those staff are charged in that program as well. So we do have one full-time person. You see that there, the FY22, that C&C line and 601. That was part of this year's budget. We had added a note to just that potentially those salaries would go up, and they did with our compensation and classification study. And then the part-time staff that works usually swells in the summer is when those part-time staff are involved. You see the young adults that come and help water plants and such throughout the districts. A little bit of overtime always added for those issues that pop up. And then the benefit package, and that is the whole of what we call personnel services there in those lines 601 to 697.
And that's divided by 3 business districts, correct?
That's correct. So if you go down to if we go to the bottom of that report, you'll see the bottom line, the net grand total on page 2 is 108,000. So that is the cost that's divided by prorated to assessed value across the 3 districts. So we use the amount of assessed value in each district to give us the prorated cost. Now, Old Orchard, we also move up a bit because they do have a couple one-time expenses. Jumping ahead on page 2 to 724, you see log cabin, parking lot flowers, and the Old Orchard, the new baskets that they added that were in that budget. So those got added to the Old Orchard, and also that their length of Big Bend exceeds their actual ratio. If we look at it by lane miles that you would get not only flowers for, but also shoveling and such. Big Bend, the district is a little longer. So we move Old Orchard up a little bit to deal with that, trying to not only use assessed value, but the amount of actual footage that is being maintained in that ratio to reflect where the business districts should split that transfer.
Okay. And then on that commodities, number 724,
Yeah.
the commodities, those plants?
That's flowers. That's the soil and flowers that go into all the pots and such like that.
Got it. Again, divided by 3, and I know it's not exactly divided by 3 because.
Correct.
Right, yeah, right, okay.
So if you do want to see what the ratios look like, if you were to look at I'm sorry to make you grab a different page. If you look at the revenue trends page on the budget information, you will see an other financing sources and a negative number under Old Webster, Old Orchard, and Crossroads. I'm going to pull it up here to make sure I've got the right number, and I'm telling you. Should be, I think this year in negative 40 something for you all. That is the revenue transfer out. That becomes the transfer. So you can see sort of in the past, what the transfers have been for all three of the districts. And obviously, if you want to see this year's, we certainly are going to go to that, and you'll be able to see that. So.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
That
explains a lot more.
So, Mr. Chairman, obviously most of the time that the Parks Department works on things other than commodities is people time, right? So we do track the timesheets of people and when they're billing time. Now, one full-time staff does not spend 2,000 hours of their time just in the business districts, but combined between the snow plowing and other events, when other people work, they get well over 2,080 hours of time spent between the 3 business districts for those services that they provide and such. So We didn't pull every timesheet because obviously the auditors look at that and have gone through that. They go through that every year to make sure that we provide an appropriate amount of time to the business districts for what the transfer is paying for, considering they're a special revenue fund. But I'm happy to answer questions. It's the personnel cost that, pays for the people who do the work, the snow shoveling, the watering of the flowers, the planting, all that kind of stuff, the decoration installation, and then the commodities. Quickly about Public Works, they are not included in the transfer, but what often happens is Public Works bills parks, which you guys don't see, for their time, right? So there's when they install the lights on the trees, when Public Works comes and helps wrap garland or such like that, that's all built into those transfer hours. So it's not in parks, but that's how it's all calculated and accounted for.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman, at your next meeting, we should have this budget, the intention from Parks, for their program that you're seeing right there, for the proposed 24 budget should be in and submitted. So we'll be able to bring that to you and show you what they're looking at and what we would estimate for the splits for the revenue transfer.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on what the Parks Department, everybody's billed on Parks Department? This will be, so next meeting, you have to really kind of dig in.
This part you're talking.
Yeah, that's just this part, exactly. We're just moving over on the revenue trends for years 18 to 22, and then the budget worksheet, just part. This is, I believe, Eric, just correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just to give us an idea of exactly where our money goes, who's spending on what, and just to give us an idea. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if essentially, unless you have a capital program like we potentially talked about with street pole lightings or power, your money is really in your fund, the Old Webster Business District Fund, and then what is paid out of the Parks Business Districts program.
Okay. So any other questions about Parks Department serving for inventory? Okay. And so I'd like to skip the report to the city council for right now if I can, and I'm going to keep sticking on budget if we can, Eric.
Yep.
So I guess the next page would like to probably go over is the Webster Groves fiscal 5-year plan.
Sure. I can easily explain that if you want, Mr. Chair. They 3 documents roll together there.
Right.
The 5-year plan, we have created one for the general fund, which we've used for about a year now. And the council asked that one be created for all the 5 funds, all the funds of the city for the coming 5 years, to sort of look at if we were to grow, if we know certain things are coming up on the horizon, what does that do not only to just operating revenues and expenditures, but also the fund balances of each of the funds of the city. Your fund balance, when we say that, that's like your savings account, right? It's things that you haven't built into the budget. It's a pot of money that the Old Webster Business District has that is invested, and interest income is derived out of and such, and put back into your fund. And so it's there, I've mentioned a couple times as we talk about budget, and I'll explain these documents. We do have the lingering concern that at some point the budget is unsustainable to transfer and do all the Parks Department stuff that is being done by that revenue transfer, and then also all the current programming that you have. And that is best seen if you look down on the 5-year plan under the yellow column for FY26, you see that your fund balance goes negative, meaning that you run out of money in your fund, both savings and your operating money, which if you're like at home, that means you've used your savings to pay your bills and you don't have any more cash flow to pay the bills. So that's what the point of this document is. The revenue and expense trends from past years that you can see provide a trend of what we have done in the past 5 years, fiscal year 18 to 22, to give us a sense of what future practice may be. And not to be derogatory, but I'll just tell you, the city of Webster Groves doesn't change that much. So we can generally look back 5 years and we see we make the same decisions and we grow at about the same pace as we found. And that usually translates through to what we will do in the future. Obviously, the point of that is to show that at some point, we are going to have to likely make a change when you look at the 5-year plan.
I'd like to interject here quickly. I've been on this board and I was on the city council, and funds or budgeting has never been accurate. And I've been on this board for probably 10 to 12 years, and we've never really lost our fund balance. So I don't really put a whole lot of faith in these. I mean, our fund balance has actually gotten bigger.
Sure. So you're absolutely right. If we spend less, right? If we spend this whole budget, we will end up that
We've always spent more. We've always spent about the same. It's just that we always project doomsday, and then at the end of the day, we have a fund surplus. I don't know why, but I've been doing this and just it happens every single year.
Is it because there's business growth in the community, I mean, in the neighborhood?
I can't explain it. I'm just saying that, like, even in the Webster Kirkwood Times, I'm reading now that we may have a surplus for the city.
So we will likely have a surplus this year due to one-time revenue. So there are one-time revenues that do kick in, and that's if you look at the 5-year plan here on the documents that, one-time revenues can't be counted on continually and such. And so that is an issue.
I'm not saying that having a budget is not a great idea. It is, but let's monitor it. And if our fund balance starts to drop, then we need to start paying attention to it. But let's see what it does next year. But everyone should be paying attention to this, what it does next year. So we basically have been at the same fund balance for about 10 years.
That is
at the end of it's all been said and done, and we've spent money on projects and advertising, and we've added advertising. So I just don't really, I mean, we should pay attention to it, but at the end of this fiscal year, we should, if it does drop by 20,000, then we maybe are on a path to something. But I don't
really
think we should be
disagree
too
with that.
worried
Oh,
about
I
I
mean,
it.
don't
that's-
disagree.
I mean, I've been here 6 years, 7 years now, whatever it's been, and I mean, what he's saying is absolutely correct. We talk about the one-time things, but it seems like every year there's a one-time influx of money, and it seems to stay the same every time with what we do. So I'm not going to disagree with what he's saying. I can't see in 3 years that we're going to be in negative $45,000 or whatever we're saying, $25,000 here all of a sudden when we're sitting here at $100,000 right now.
A disconnect is revenue. These revenue projections they're well below trend.
Well, why would that be though?
I don't know.
your revenue, when you remove the one-time revenue, your recurring revenue. So property taxes are a great example, is because of the Hancock Amendment, lies generally flat, right? So this year, we have a challenge always estimating property taxes. We got really close this year because your rates aren't set till September, 6 months after we set your budget for revenue. This year, you can expect $44,000 of property taxes if everyone pays on time, even though your values have gone up. Your business licenses did exceed last year, but the 5-year trend from years past is that those trends have gone down. The revenue has generally trended down across the way in the 5 years. Now, that does not say that it's going to happen, right? This is just, we simply use the last 5 years as a trend to show where it's going at. And that's the average growth rate when you look at that line that says average growth column. This is not meant to say that you're going to run out of money. I don't disagree with Bill. Change can happen and things do change. And this year you have only spent 47% of your budget, right? The reduction of fund balance is always estimating that you're going to spend the entire budget out across the year, and you haven't done that yet. You are not in a problem. Crossroads is in a problem. They have a fund balance of $2,000 right now. Their fund balance has been falling every year. And so what we are seeing is that because the cost of things go up, that is going down. And so they need to address this year, are they going to continue to have the Parks Department services? And if they decide not to, and capture that revenue rather than move it over to that fund, then what does that mean for the rest of you? And how do we cut back on those services to give you the appropriate, not cut back, make sure that we don't charge you for more services that you're getting, you are charged for the absolute services you're getting, not picking up that slack in another place. So.
Eric, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So why do you project property taxes to decline 2.8% every year over the next 5 years?
They generally have. So I mean,
That's never gone down.
Yeah.
so your property taxes don't go down, but by the Hancock Amendment, let me just see if I can share this real quick here. Hopefully this works. Share screen. Come on, where are we at? Excel. I went through and looked at your tax rates. I think you can all see this on the screen. I'll make it bigger if you need. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you look back to 2018, you can see your residential value in the district is 2.6 million. Now it's 2.8. Your commercial value, excuse me, that's 15 something. I mistyped a number there this morning when I pulled it. It's up to 18 million now. The rates are going up to meet this year. The rates went up. As you can see, we lost over $1 million of commercial value because a business challenged its assessment and the Board of Equalization reduced their assessment in commercial value. So the rates are going up. You all have felt that and paid for it. And these are the rates that the state allows us. Bill may remember this. We do an initial rate. It goes to the state, gets approved under the Hancock Amendment, but then the rate comes back and is set. These are the rates that you see. So despite the increase in value, you generally have held the same rate throughout. And so in true dollars, all of that combined, all of that tax rate and all that value is $44,000, $44,800 this year. So now again, we don't get these numbers that I'm talking about until 6 months after we set your property tax rate. So we'll talk about the budget. Next month, we'll talk about the revenue that we'll estimate, and we won't have your numbers available in terms of the new assessment. And there will be a new assessment this year. And just looking, you talk about revenue. I want to grab the revenue trend here and make sure I'm quoting you all right. If you look at the revenue trends, you can see the actual numbers fell. If you look at on the revenue trends line in FY18, you took in $46,000 of property taxes. And it has fallen now last year to 41,000. So hence the 5-year change there, Bill, or Dan, excuse me, that you asked about.
The license amount went up, those significantly.
Right, and I agree with the license amount did go up, and I don't see that going back down tremendously, like going back down, I don't think to 37,000 next year. I would hope not. That would be.
Well, you have a couple years of pandemic numbers in
Yeah,
there.
that's
So I
what
think it's
they're
really just
saying,
we're
how
gonna-
can we?
They're projecting 8% increase, 7.5 in licenses. So they're not showing those going down.
Correct. So we don't show the licenses going down. Your other income, which is minor, but really the property taxes, due to much of the structural factor of the Hancock Amendment, whatever value you get and you add, the rate comes back down. And then if someone does challenge an assessment, back to the commercial rate for this year, that was much lower. You all would have paid much lower commercial property taxes for 22, but that $1 million that got challenged threw that back up, right? And that rate went back up. And essentially, those of you who didn't challenge are subsidizing the cost of those that did.
What was the other income?
The other income is generally, it's a classification, usually holds any miscellaneous donations, interest income and such like that. You will have some interest in there that will come through. Interest until this year has been nothing, right? I mean, the investments of the city were, we're lucky if we got 3 decimal points, to the right of zero type of interest. That is all changed, and we're closer to 5% average yield, actually 3 point some average yield right now, going towards 5 with the interest rate increases. So you will have some interest being added and brought in.
I do have a question about this Moody lot or Why does the maybe lot lease keep increasing?
So the Moody lot increase in the lease has a 2% increase in the
Okay,
lease yearly.
And that's something we never budgeted for. That was something that we had to
add.
just add because we wanted it. And
Well, we had paid for repairs, I think.
originally what the city did is we redid the whole lot, and that was good, I think, for 5 years, Eric. Am I right on that?
Correct, yep. And so that ended and now the
And that
lease.
ended this year, and then we voted to keep it. We didn't really know it was gonna be 4,000. And I think the city's splitting that with us. Is that correct?
That's unlike, yes, that's 50-50, unlike First Congregational, which you pay 80% of that lot, the one
Okay.
behind Bill and.
Where's
and
that
Ron's.
one at? Not here.
That's built into it is built into contractual services, which is your main line. It's in
And
that
how much is that per
That's
year?
17,000.
17,000. And that lease will be up next year, so. When it comes to parking, and this goes back to your question, Stacy, which you asked last month, or excuse me, November, we certainly can look at impact fees, both pay for parking, or if you want to talk about business licenses, as you mentioned. You are the one district that does provide employee parking lots out of the district, right? So like the garage is paid for by the city's general fund and capital fund. In Old Orchard, the log cabin lot behind Frisco is provided by the city, and Crossroads, Alma, and behind the orthodontist is provided by the city. You folks do have those 2 lots which you lease, provided by the district funds.
They really don't do that in a lot of places, do they, Eric?
Which ones do
That's
which?
not very common for the district to pay for employee parking. In other.
Yeah,
cities.
I think I couldn't say for certain. I haven't heard from it from my counterparts in Kirkwood and other places. So, but a lot of places also have a pay for parking model, right? Which we just across the city do not have. So.
Do we know where like the employees park in Kirkwood? Because Kirkwood's free parking.
I
Like,
do
how
not.
do they have their set up?
I know when my daughter worked there, it was more in the neighborhood, like at Argonne, or they park at First Cross Church and just hope that,
They'd like have to move their car.
well, if there wasn't an event at the church, it wasn't a problem. Yeah, wherever they could, bigger problem in Kirkwood, I think, than Webster.
To the
I've
question,
never had a customer come in and say, I've driven around, I cannot find anywhere to park
Mhm.
in Webster, even during the holidays.
We have,
Yeah,
we've had, can you run stuff out to our car?
we do still run things out to the car, but I think
Well, I mean,
people's
they,
mindsets have changed, like they like that curbside approach.
well, but they've said because they can't find a parking place. So. But no, compared to Kirkwood, it can't be. I mean, Kirkwood's gotta be terrible over there for employee parking.
You could run into as well as if you didn't have it and people start parking in residential areas, then the residents get together and then they make it, permit parking only. And I know I used to live by the high school. We had to do that as a neighborhood association because the kids would just park on both sides of the street and just trash the whole neighborhood. And so, and I'm not trying to say that, but
That happens in Kirkwood.
right, yeah, and neighbors get
Mhm.
upset and it's just not a good vibe. So.
Well, I think, thank you for everything, and we obviously we need to monitor it, and then hopefully we have some plans if it does go down for like a revenue generation, some ideas. Like, next year in September, October, when we know really where we're at. Or this
What
year.
happens when that lease does go up in that parking lot?
The one for 17,000 now.
Because it's up
It
next
probably-
year, right?
There's probably an increase in cost.
Where is that?
We have to go
one?
back and negotiate it.
It's behind Ron's bicycle shop.
Owned by one of the churches.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a church one that we lease.
Right. I know that church is hurting for money, heard from a couple of people, and I don't know if they'd be willing to sell it, but that would be versus leasing that lot, but that would be on the city more than, we couldn't afford to buy the lot. So we maintain the lot as it is right now, we plow it. We also do seal it, but I think that's over with, right, Eric? Because it's gonna need, I believe it's it's gonna need to be completely redone next time, I believe. Is that correct?
That is, from what I understand from Public Works, it is on its schedule for replacement now. So we've done the ceiling and, upkeep and such on it. So almost any parking lot we lease, we usually end up being the bearer of repairs and then,
So where are we on that? So like, shouldn't we go to them and see if we can do a 3 or 4 or 5 year deal if we replace their lot? Where we get free rent for, I mean, that's just a starting point. But I mean, a lot of our services were able to do a little bit possibly less expensive because we have our own staff and those guys really know what they're doing.
Right. It's much like the Masons lot. If we, there is that potential and, we did it obviously with Moody. We can certainly talk with them about it. We have not broached it yet, mainly to get through budget. I think it's up and due right around January, beginning of this next fiscal year. So we do anticipate that we'll need to start talking with them, soon here about what their intentions
January
are.
of 2024.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we need to get on that.
I think you need to be talking to Public Works though, so you kind of understand what the scope of the work is.
Sure.
It's $180,000.
Right.
And then whatever, and then we negotiate a long-term lease, 10 years, 20 years at, whatever rate, or they give us 5 years like what the other lot did.
Who negotiates if we purchase it? Like if the city tries to purchase it? Who does that?
The city does. So we send that over and the city attorney begins that conversation and, between the city administration and attorney, we negotiate the lease and develop it.
Because if it's true that they are hurting for money, we probably want to put our feelers out there to, you know what I mean? Talk to them and see if.
So we always ask when we're leasing something if a sales potential first, right? I'll just be honest with you. Most folks don't want to sell to the city because they know the city's constraints on things. I mean, if they're sitting on land in Old Webster, they know the value of it. So, and then, we ask the same about the Moody lot, right? We'd rather have purchased that and move that into inventory. Even if it wasn't going to be used for parking, the city can repurpose it later on. So, but we always start with that.
If it wasn't designated as an employee lot, just was a general parking lot that belonged to the church and employees, customers, whomever parked there, what would happen?
Well, they could put a chain up across like they do sometimes on their lot. I mean, I will say the Presbyterian Church is a very, very good neighbor. I mean, they let a lot of people park there all the time. There I have events where they put a chain up and stuff like that. But if they did do that, then all the employees who are parking that lot would then be pushed to move into park on the street, and then Opera's Review will be a lot busier.
But it would just be occasionally, I'm trying to think about how it happens in Kirkwood too. If there's an event or they have a funeral during the day, they will say church parking only event, whatever. But other than that, I'm not sure, and I'm a member there and I can ask. I don't know that they're charging the city for use. I think it's just if it's open, it's not.
At the Presbyterian Church?
Kirkwood?
No, in Kirkwood, we're talking about, we don't really know for sure. It's just what's
But I
happened
can
in
ask.
Kirkwood, yeah, but that'd be awfully generous of them. I mean, I hate to say that let's take a lot behind my shop. They use it one day a week, a little bit barely, the city uses it all the time. Is it their responsibility to seal it and just because it just sits there? I mean, of course, it's gonna get damaged a little bit by weather, but cars and stuff like that are even more. And so it's be super generous if they just fronted the bill for all the maintenance. I know that Webster Pres maybe had a little bit of a disagreement with some business who uses their lot all the time at night. I'm trying to get them to help them pay for some stuff. And so I don't know what happened with that, and I don't want to get into it, but those are true areas that, if somebody's using your free lot all the time, like somebody has to pitch in and help fix it or do some stuff with it too, so.
So
Also that lot behind your building
And yours.
Yeah,
Your bit.
that lot behind your business, my building. The stairs, what's going on with those? Those are kind of janky. If you walk down the stair, you could, it's definitely not the code. How does that get How?
Between the
No,
one and the building?
I walk down it every day, never have a problem.
Oh, well, good for you.
But
Because
if
one
it's
is
stroller-
like this and one is like this. and
You
one
could
is
use-
like
Are you
this.
talking about behind the vet?
Yeah,
Or
those-
behind my store?
The stairs coming down from the parking lot.
It's right to my dumpster.
There's two.
Right, exactly.
Those sets of stairs are definitely not up to code. So if we go down the route of having to redo the parking lot, do those stairs also go in that package? Is
Well,
my
yeah,
question.
just so you know, that wall
Yeah.
and all that is not the city's. That is
Right,
all
it's
the
church,
churches.
so that would definitely have to also be thought about when they go to do the parking lot, because if the city is allowing, if they've negotiated with the church to use that lot, and those stairs are as, I mean, maybe you can walk down them, but they are not, like a normal person cannot. Go walk them.
I do them all the
Aren't those-
time. I've done them for 20 years.
Aren't those stairs to the alleyway? They're not really, I don't feel like those are really.
Yeah, but they
pedestrian
come off
stairs.
the parking lot and
Yeah, but-
employees are using them.
I do use them, but I mean, I hate to say that I've used them for 20 years and I've never.
I
stopped
mean,
that.
I've used a bathroom this size for 20 years and I move into this building, all of a sudden I have to get everything up to code. It's like the leap, I just mean like,
Mhm.
Once you touch anything.
once you touch
you
it,
gotta bring it
it's
to code, yeah, so it's
gotta
not
be
gonna
like
get
to
touched.
code. There's no way those stairs are up to code.
Those.
So is that gonna
stairs-
be part of the? I mean, I can't imagine that being cheap to add into the negotiation, because it's gonna have to be.
Okay, both of those stairways were put in by private businesses originally. County Electric originally built that stairway themselves behind Ron's place. And the one behind the vet was originally put in by Chapman Sanders for their employees to use to get into their building. Again, that's 35 years ago.
Yeah. So I just mean, don't you think if we have to redo the parking lot, that's probably going to be a part of that?
It probably should be. Both of the staircases are on church property.
So it's more than just doing the parking lot, is what I'm saying. I mean, I
The
just want you
church
guys to
would
be
have do
aware.
it With no money.
Or you could just get rid of them.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
get rid of them. It feels like, what you're asking is there's commission to basically favor certain businesses.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that those will be part of it. I don't care if they're there or not. I mean, I would.
Well, right, but you could just take them out.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
Ryan, you're gonna have to walk around.
Or walk down a hill. What's next on the agenda?
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chair, just on parking, and I don't want us to linger too long. It's obviously important. The current lease was signed in 19. It ends here at the end of this year. I just looked at it. We will definitely talk to Public Works and look at all those different options, right? And obviously stairs in or out, what's code? I mean, that's not my world, but we can definitely work with Mara on all that kind of question. I did want to point out, and we haven't done this in those two lots, but you know, I'll use Dan Warner. He parks in the ramp. He has a permit. Is it orange or blue? I can't remember what color they are down there, Dan, but we haven't gone to permit parking, but if that is a revenue option you want to go to on the employee lots, you could seize revenue that way. They're totally free, whereas you could have permit parking, much like when companies buy their permits and such for employees, and go that route. Way too early to say, let's do that. It needs a lot more thinking of how to apply that, but it's an option that you can, I just want to put in your mind.
The church parking lot at one time was permit parking. And it was at the same level as the other orange parking throughout the district.
So I don't know when that changed, but I'm just letting you know between Moody and the congregational lot, we could certainly look at that if that's something you want to look at.
Okay, so that kind of gets us started a little bit on budget. next month, we'll have to go through it and nail it down.
Right. So
But everybody, please take a look at these and try to familiarize yourself a little bit better with them. Right now, Eric, I'm just looking real quickly, bench repair, is that being worked on as we speak, kind of, you know?
Yep.
I haven't looked
So-
around.
So so if you look at, I'm sorry, you have another document in front of you. It should be the old Webster fiscal 23, this current budget year to date. You'll see where we are on this current budget. So halfway through it, I believe it was in the email. I don't know if it got printed or not.
It's not here. Well, it could be this one, performance report.
I can certainly pull it up if you all need it and then put it on the screen.
Is that,
Performance report is year-to-date information.
Yep. Performance report is what you're looking for. So
yeah,
that's called the budget performance report. That'll show you where the cost of things are at and what we've spent. As you can see, disposal services have skyrocketed. We have reached out to Republic Services and they are not budging. This is for your recycling bin. We're already over budget by 9%. They have the cost of running their bin has almost doubled. Now there are some overage charges that got applied that we are fighting with them on, for extra boxes. They charged $100 one month for, spillage outside the dumpster, essentially, but $100 to pick up those boxes. So, I mean, we are going around the mountain with them. Both Mara and I have had wonderful conversations. Facetious. So, but all three districts have dealt with that. I just want you to know that it's not just about your district. It's been an interesting set of numbers, but they have raised the rate significantly without compromise, without any, willingness to budge on that recycling bin. I think that's a pretty essential service, but I wanted you to be aware why that line was high.
Okay. I am, yeah. I mean, how many times, I'm sure they didn't credit us the times they didn't pick it up and we had to keep calling them to get them to pick it up.
Yes. So,
so I've just gone through getting a new dumpster for my business, which is a nightmare. But if, I don't know, Aspen, disposal services are very, very nice. They get back with you. They do exactly what they say. And I'm super impressed with them so far. And I mean, I reached out to 10 different trash companies and no one would even return a call. It's so horrible. And, but so far Aspen has seemed like they're on the ball. I know they do other businesses in Webster. I think, is that who you told, Dan?
yeah, I mean,
You mentioned it to me.
us.
Yeah, they've been trying to get Dan for a number of years, and Dan just mentioned it one time when I was complaining. He's like, you may just give these guys a call. They were awesome. And so, getting done with Meridian was a nightmare, just trying to get out of it. I didn't have a contract and it was a nightmare. And so, but that may be an avenue that
sure.
it seems like they want to get their foot more in Webster. I think that all of the Oak uses them, or at least O&O Pizza does as well, possibly. So possibly we could look at them. So.
So the rest of your current budget and what you see in the projects that you were planned this year, we obviously have, significant room left in your advertising for the balance of this year through the end of June. Professional services, that's Fran's bill and cost, and then those hours. Operational equipment, you have a good chunk of money there, and the contract construction, that's really dealing with the lighting issue. So, I mean, you have, again, back to Bill's point, right? I mean, you have a significant chunk of budget left to be able to accomplish the things we've talked about, a good chunk of the things we talked about, I'm holding street pole power out to the side there, just waiting on numbers. But again, Public Works does think that'll be a little higher than your budget can swallow this year, at least.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
So as you look at these documents and as you look ahead, I mean, this is going to be for this next year's conversation. Joe is here, but what are all the different things? Again, those line items within the line items that you want to do, how much money should the Jazz Fest get? Those kinds of questions, the asks and those things all build the budget. And what I will do is send you all, if you wish, a link, you can email me anything you want. We'll start to put together a draft budget with sort of the basic outline of where things have been in the past and have that for you next month. That we'll get it out a week or two ahead of time so you can all react to it and say, add this, take this off, things like that. Things that we know that you have historically wanted to do, we'll put those in. And then you can tell us to change from there.
Okay, that'd be great. We'd appreciate it. And then can you break down the advertising? Is that what you're talking about? Like on line item 830?
Yes,
Just break down, hey, you've given 6,000 to Jazz Festival,
sure.
20,000 to Holiday Open House.
Yes. So we'll break that down, and we'll look back over past years as well, and see where things were and such, and give you that breakout of things. And, I know we've added a couple to like old house, open house. I think we've added a little bit of money here and there. So we did a bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but still you're well within budget, which we can certainly do in the budget's process. So.
And the last thing on there is line item contract construction number 906.
Yep.
What is that?
So when you see the 900s in the city budget, those 900 numbers, we use that for a capital outlay. So that gives us a sign in finance. This may be a hard asset that we have to, like if we were redoing a parking lot, and we need to now reassess the value of an asset for our books, that's a capital asset line. That line had been used when Mara was creating your budget for lighting in many ways. Looking at it, I don't view the lights once they're on the buildings as a city asset, because obviously they're half paid for by the building owner, and we can't just go up and take them down when we want, right? So we're moving that into 730, but we did that. This will be your last year of having a budget line with contract construction for that purpose.
Okay.
Does that make sense? How I explained it?
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, I saw him nodding a little bit, so I think he was understanding my capital asset description.
Yeah.
A note back with the parking, I did just check about the church in Kirkwood, the chair of the finance committee, and he said that the businesses, he's not aware of businesses paying for use except the YMCA pays, which is next door, and he thinks it's around $10,000.
Here.
So just the YMCA lot.
That's overflow for YMCA, but employees,
church.
they pay
The
the church, the YMCA does, but the
Is there a maintenance
businesses,
agreement too?
I would guess there's something in place with the Y,
Additional
but
to-
not with the business district,
Or with the YMCA possibly?
possibly.
Well, maybe they don't really have resources to,
The Y probably wouldn't either, right?
right, they wouldn't.
So, what, and having served on. Yeah, the church maintains the.
Yeah, that was picked up.
I know that the church here in the corner, like I said, they're hurting. I doubt that that's not just gonna go away. So the source of their revenue, or it could be a source of repurchase.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be. So.
So
Also, Gretchen got back to me too, if anybody, we can talk, she does not think they have any of the graphics.
I would think not that old.
No.
I mean, the only hope is that Joe has it, and then the
Yeah.
only hope is what Bill said, that maybe you could get an old. Somebody like take a photograph shop.
Killers or something.
Yeah, exactly. They may be able to, they may still have an old floppy disk thing.
It
that
would
can
cost
still
more to convert than just recreate, wouldn't it?
Probably.
work. Could.
It would be very easy to recreate.
Yeah.
I've got how many designers on staff? I mean, that's,
Yeah,
my wife could do it probably in a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, you just show her the artwork
Yeah.
and you can just recreate.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
my wife has done all the banners
Yeah,
up and down that's,
And
Let's
she's
do-
free.
Let's just do that.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, most importantly.
Was that?
Let's just do that then. That makes it simple.
Yeah, that's fine.
So just take a picture of it, I guess. She'll take a picture and she'll just try to recreate it. I mean, I'm sure she'll get it.
Yeah.
Really close. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to just send an example to us of what it is?
I want
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah.
Does that sound good,
You
Bill?
really need the specs.
yeah, that sounds, I didn't even think about that. It sounds really good.
If she can make it bigger, smaller afterwards, I mean, it's
Well, I
really.
think we do need to stay in the same circle. Am I correct on this area?
Well,
Because
that's
we-
why I just said that.
We want to
Specs don't
be
even matter.
lines if we can't.
Right, exactly, right.
Yeah, specs don't even matter at this point. It would just be, recreating the design and making it bigger.
Awesome.
Okay.
And she has the sourcing to get the vinyl, and everything, I'm sure.
Oh, I mean, we could print the vinyl.
Yeah.
I've got,
I mean.
I've got all the
Okay.
equipment. But now there might be a charge.
Of course there would be.
Sponsored by.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
QR code.
so I got kicked down the road to the end of February to go to, we talked about this for like 30 seconds at the last meeting in November. So I got booted, so I don't have to do this till the end of February 21st, I believe it is, go to city council. But I need 3 concrete things that we do that I'm gonna present to the city council to tell them this is where this is where most of our expenditure is for our money.
I
And
sent you an email.
you did, and you're
Yes.
to put on events.
Mhm.
And so that is a huge thing that we do, of course. And so, of course, we try to keep the business district beautiful by pots and the plants, and we, fund that. That's another big expense. And then our other biggest expense is advertising, which also goes in with putting on events too. We give money to Jazz, but it's also kind of advertising as well. So
Well, and our conversation there, when Lisa said only $250 we pay for the June
Street dance.
street dance. I mean, is that money coming from here?
No, that comes directly from the trade.
Well, that's why I didn't understand her email on that.
I don't think I got Lisa's, I just got
Okay,
yours
okay,
that attached Lisa, I never got Lisa's response.
okay.
You
Yeah.
went forward and I.
She said, just said, I mean, we're gonna get together. We're gonna get together.
She said she couldn't this week, so she's
Oh,
gonna get back
shit,
to us.
okay.
I can give you a little of that $250 on the transit pays for the police officer.
Right.
Everything else has been out of the taxing district. For the
Okay,
street.
so that's,
Will you forward that to me? I'll look at it.
there's nothing there. I mean,
Oh.
that everything that was
Oh.
said. We're gonna get together and talk about, we need to talk about finances for different things. But, so if taxi district puts it on, that's part of the event as well too.
Well, what, I mean,
The aesthetics.
I think we need to start getting BBC and more involved with events and stuff like that, but with
Well-
providing funds for events.
Well, there's no real
There's no
budget.
money.
There's no budget there. I mean, they have some money right now, but that's for
Not for that.
citywide. It's for citywide, it's for their,
Okay, so everybody kind of in agreement on what we do, basically.
the other thing would be parking though. I mean, because
Parking is something we have to, right, yeah, there's.
you said 3, but you didn't mention parking. I mean, if you're
Right.
paying that much
Actually-
there,
Yeah, that's a big chunk of the budget.
yeah.
Mhm. And it's
Ron,
a
if you want to
resource.
slide forward to talk about parking, that's fine. So we've sort of said 3 to try to
You
keep
can have
people
it.
from going on, for hours, so.
So,
Right, yeah, I'm not
Well,
trying to
it
go on
has to
forever.
be what we don't want it to be is the thing. Can like somebody else take parking on,
Right.
like the city? I mean, I'm serious. What? I don't understand.
I feel like safety is in there though too, because all the lighting and parking it at all, if it goes on with one of the 3, like parking,
Falls along the lines of area beautification.
beautification,
feel of it.
safety, yeah,
Green.
preservation,
Drop parking into that bucket.
true.
all right, so you got your 4.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna be, yeah, it won't be very long. So, I'll make it short and sweet for them. Okay, I think that's good. Is the next meeting the 28th? Is that right?
Think so.
I won't be here.
Yes, it's the 28th.
You can call in.
I'm gonna be
Your ski trip.
skiing, I know.
Call in from the slopes, if you could.
Ron, we can easily move it. I mean, it's a budget conversation. If we need to move it, so you can be.
Okay,
here, let us know, so.
what days is it open? Like, is this open?
So I would, the week before, on the, I'm just looking here, the 21st and is tough, but like the Wednesday, the 22nd, if you want to go right after your presentation that night, we could do that. Thursday, the 23rd is, we've got meetings. So it's the mornings, other than the other business districts and BDC, are generally open. And so,
Okay. Does anyone here have a consensus on any dates that are good for them? I'm leaving,
As well, please.
I leave that Thursday, which is the
23rd.
23rd.
So we do the 22nd.
22nd. Fine.
22nd is good with me.
That's a Wednesday. Eric, 22nd work?
it's
All right,
fine.
let's do it
Fine for
that
the
day.
city, yep.
Thank
So
you.
we're gonna do our February meeting on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's gonna be a Wednesday, the 22nd, if that's good with everybody.
In the morning. Yeah, 8 AM.
And are we about ready to wrap up? I had one or two quick things I wanted to bring up.
We are, yeah, go ahead, Bill.
So on the bench repair and trash cans, I didn't quite get where we were on that. So
So-
those are ordered, they're in, they're going out.
In fact, they are installed, so benches, so just to give you all an update, you may have seen them. You all, this is, I think, the 0.1% of the time when city administration took a different path, but benches have been installed and ordered. They are metal benches, so we know you voted and the city manager heard your recommendation, but decided in consultation with, talking with the mayor, but also that we would continue to match up everything with the rest of the city. Your plaques, Joe, I'm looking at you as you're on the plaques for everyone who was sponsored a bench are all being remade to be installed on the new benches, but 10 benches have been installed in Old Webster that match the trash cans and the decor the city had picked.
So trash cans, do we add any to our inventory or is it still the same amount of trash cans?
I mean, I kind of saw that coming, considering how Eric was talking about it. I mean, that's
So,
surprise.
Trash cans in the last year's budget had been ordered and many have been added. We put them out. You've seen those. We haven't added any to the inventory. There is, the grant has been awarded to redo in front of, so no cost to you. The city received the grant to redo the natural area in front of Dewey's and in front of Straub's. We will be moving a trash can over. There's none on the other side of Lockwood in front of O&O and Parkmore down that stretch. So we'll be moving that one over as we prepare for getting the new vegetation area redone in front of Straub's.
Awesome, that's awesome. And then holiday bow replacement, looks like there's a line item for 3,912. Is that something that we're budgeting for? I mean, I thought I saw that in the 2023 budget. Is that something that we're gonna be buying some more? Well, I think he just froze up. So I'm gonna give this to the people that actually know how to decorate, but I have been told by my wife and some other people that the garland needs to go all the way up the pole, is what I've been told. It just looks not quite right halfway up the pole. So we should possibly look at that. I'm not saying we should do it or not do it, but it's something we should analyze and maybe do something different with that.
It did look half finished this year. It was like
It looks like it's,
waiting for them to come back and finish it.
it seems like it's so stretched out going up. It's just like almost a straight line.
We ordered more
Kind of go around times.
but it didn't come in. So
Oh.
that is the previous year's stuff.
Hmm.
And the stuff that we ordered just came in.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah,
Mm,
So
So
the-
I think
but I
what he's
don't-
talking about, we've already taken care of,
Okay,
if I'm remembering correctly.
well, I think we want to make sure that if we're replacing it though, we want to make sure we have enough that goes all the way to the top of the pole.
I agree.
Because I don't think we did do top of the pole previous years either. So I think we've always been doing half, I can't remember. But we definitely want to make sure we have enough. And it looks like we have $3,900 to spend in our budget. So just for the next meeting, maybe.
I
start
would like
thinking about
to,
it.
I would also like us to save some of that money just in case we can add the electric to the pole switch.
That sounds like it's gonna be way expensive. I just wanted to make sure we had a number. We never gotten a number. I have a feeling it's gonna be very expensive and it's gonna be something the city will have to ask for a grant or do it themselves. But I wanted to make sure we knew what our number was. So we can do things like Garland though, and we should do it right. And so so were we planning on replacing what we had, Fran?
We already paid for it.
We already paid for it.
So Bill, on that,
Stuff that went up on the.
Yeah, Bill, you might have missed that. It's already in. We didn't get it in time last year.
It just now came in. We ordered it a year ago.
It'd be in addition to what we went up this holiday season. So it'd be on
Yes.
top of that. And it's the same color and everything.
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
You have green garland to go all the way up the poles and new red bows that you'll see next Christmas on the
Right.
poles. So,
So that's why they look so.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? City update, anything quick, Eric, or?
Just briefly, membership woes for you all will be solved. The city council is looking at boards and commissions chapter 4, where your commissions are, and has taken up the initial recommendation that their subcommittee has looked at to move all the business districts to 7 members, given the trouble finding enough people to sit on the districts. And so that which will end up being fine with you'll have 2 vacancies here, with Margaret being vacant, as resigned from the board, from the theater. And then of course, Joe at some point will be done here. So, but so the council's likely to take that up.
Joe's not leaving.
Yeah, I don't think Joe will ever leave, but you know.
No,
That's good. We don't want him to.
But
we need.
What
we
I
need
wanted to
him.
point out is they will be for all 3 districts, including, and we'll provide this language you to look at, the ability to have an employee. Some districts have this included, some don't, so if you have a larger institution where, you're not an owner, you can, if you want to have an employee. Really important if you think of like Crossroads, Schnucks is not allowed technically to be on the district because no one is the owner, obviously, that works at the Webster Grove Schnucks. So it's a minor change, but it's helpful in terms of getting to quorum and numbers to be able to move forward. So.
Okay, that's great.
Officer Razul, anything I didn't want to, sorry, any parking or any issues from you?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Any new businesses coming in?
Well, we have Bagel Union finally, is being opened up. I think you saw the soft close down at Crossroads.
Did you see the picture?
Yeah. They lined up down the street, which was great.
Street.
I hate to tell you that.
Free bagels? Really?
Aw.
That's
Go
impressive.
ahead, Eric.
I hate to tell you that I just talked with Mara yesterday because folks have been asking about the new law office / coffee shop next to Regions. She has not had any contact with the contractors and the business owners. Will need to be soon getting done because their permit period's coming to a close soon. And we'll need to get things moving along. Otherwise, they'll be asking us for an extension, and that will, there's a certain test of criteria that need to be met to get that done. So I know the law offices really want to get in there. We do not know, and they have not revealed to us what brand, if there is a national franchise or if it's a local brand for the coffee shop yet.
That's so crazy. And then there's a new kids store coming in to Webster,
Good.
right? Next to Leopard.
Oh,
Or kind of,
Where the soap was?
What is it?
I don't know what the name of it is yet. I just know it's kids store.
Like play
Yeah.
space?
No, it's like it's owned by a local young female
Competition?
entrepreneur. To me, I don't do kids. I mean, I have a little baby section.
I thought you were gonna start doing it.
You will all in your district
Oh, you
have a
mean
new
the
coffee
break?
shop.
Oh, that's like a junior store. That's.
I'm sorry.
What was that, Eric?
So you do all have a new coffee shop opening early in the mornings. Bulk and Treat Box is opening Telva at Rolling Ridge in Old Webster. So that's a new business start, which will be, they're not producing the food and cooking there. They'll be doing that down in Old Orchard at their restaurant, but that's a 6 a.m. coffee shop at Rolling Ridge that they're opening.
Is that a mornings only?
Now, as far as I understand, their hours that we have permitted are very broad, but I do think they're going at least to mid-afternoon. So
When do they open?
Are they opening this month?
We
Next-
expect that this month or next month, I believe is what we expect. The permits have been granted now, so they can, finalize some reworks that needed to be done.
Associated with their space, their event space on the second floor.
Upstairs.
That was so fun, finally.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. So I think we're all done. We can adjourn. Next meeting can be on the 22nd. Brandon, I don't know if you could send out an email, if you could make a note to send an email, maybe 3 or 4 days before, just to kind of remind everybody.
Yeah, don't come on.
Yeah.
Great.
Here, 4 days before.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Oh, what?
Well, it's about.
You better go. You better go.
Camera.
Illegal, I think.
No, it's about, that's just a.
Bye.
Yeah, there was more than a.
Oh,
About how we negotiate. For instance.
Yeah.
The churches are changing,
Yeah.
their numbers are changing.
Adios.
And it just see around,
yeah.
Bye.
it just seems to me that. There should be, we have sort of an advantage to negotiate something positive for them. And. You mean, just maintaining the parking lot
I would agree with that.
is worth a lot.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because they can't use it on Sunday, and if it's not maintained, they can't, they have to plow it some of themselves, there's a lot of
Yeah,
value.
we need to get, I feel like we need to get on it just because it's a year away.
Yeah,
The
sooner
reason
we
I'm asking
start-
about the stairs is the stairs will get done, and I need to know if I need to personally budget for it.
Uh-huh.
I think that's